After winning over the hearts of Europe with one of the most eclectic songs that we've ever seen on the Eurovision stage, Finland is back looking for the next act to follow up on 2023's success. Today we're taking a look at which of these artists have the best chances at filling the shoes, or the bolero, of our favorite crazy party guy, Karja. Finland's UMK has become a must-watch for a lot of fans. It usually produces a few fan favorites, including from songs that don't win, and the songs that do win have been proving to be fairly successful for Finland at Eurovision. All of the recent ones have qualified for the final, and 2 of them have made it into the top 10, which is not something that we've seen that often in Finland's history at Eurovision. Of the 7 songs that are competing this year, we're going to be looking at 4 of them in detail, and the first one that we're going to be talking about is currently the favorite to win among several polls, including the betting odds, and it's also the entry that has had the highest debut on the Finnish singles charts out of all of the singles this year, debuting at number 2. So we're starting things off with some pretty raw emotions. Paskana translates to "I'm a fucking wreck," and Sara was inspired to write the song after seeing a friend of hers deal with the loss of her father. She describes the feeling of seeing the people around you go on with their lives as if nothing's wrong, while in your own life everything has been overcome by grief and feeling like your world has completely ended. It's been surprising seeing a song like this be so hyped leading up to the show. We haven't really seen too many ballads from Finland in the last few years. When we exclude 2020, which never actually made it to the Eurovision stage, all of the songs that we've seen from 2018 onward have been high energy and obviously a number of rock songs as well. But I suppose that it's also a more Eurovision friendly ballad than other ones that we've seen try and represent Finland at UMK, because it's not like soft or intimate. It's very big vocals, big synths, and has lots of drama to it, so I suppose that it's an easier sell for the Eurovision audience. Now, I see this as being a good choice for Finland and potentially getting a good result, but I'm also thinking about some of the stagings that we've seen at UMK, particularly for ballads, and I have certain concerns about how they're going to approach this. If they depend too much on theatrical expressions like these looks into the camera, you run the risk of veering into the melodrama territory, and I think that would undersell the real rawness, the real sadness that's in this song, and it might end up looking cheap. The other thing that I wonder too is how likely are the Finnish public going to be voting for this in big numbers, because this is a 75 televote, 25 jury selection, and in the last few years, the top 2 are always rock songs and silly songs. And so we'll have to see if the early commercial success will translate into votes. I think that it's certainly possible, but I don't think that it would be a runaway victory like we've seen in the past few years, and this next song might actually be this entry's biggest competition.
Vox Populi, Vox Populi, Vox Populi. Kaikki mielipiteet on yhtä väärin. Vox Populi.
Another one of this year's songs that entered the Finnish charts is Vox Populi, which debuted at number 4. The song is a collaboration between Mikael Gabriel from Finland and Nublu from Estonia, who both trade lines in their native language throughout the song. Now, there's been some debate about the messaging of the song and how it reflects on Mikael specifically. Vox Populi means the voice of the people, and they describe the song as being about how everybody's entitled to an opinion, but nobody should think that their opinion is better than someone else's, and that's referenced in the line in the chorus, "Everyone's opinions are equally wrong." But people have been trying to make connections between what the lyrics are and how Mikael has expressed himself in the past. And so you see a lot of people debating about his political leanings and his character. There's a really interesting irony in that, because he's talking about polarization, especially on the internet, and this desire to want to silence people who have dissenting opinions. And the people involved in this debate are basically trying to decide whether or not his opinion is worthy of being heard based on who he is rather than what he's saying. Now, I'll admit that I'm reluctant to want to listen to someone who once had Putin's face tattooed on their body, but at the same time, I don't really see any problems with what's being said here in the song. He's right. People are unnecessarily polarized about really trivial things sometimes, like Eurovision winners. Musically, on the other hand, I'm not as much of a fan. I like the idea of using a choir to emphasize the voice of the people, but from a genre point of view, I don't feel like the blend works quite as well here with rock and dance beats, at least certainly not as much as it did for songs like Cha Cha Cha. I see this as being a love it or hate it song, and if the people that love it vote in big numbers, then I could see this as being the entry. I mean, it's gonna depend a lot on televote anyway, so let's see how that interpretation of the song goes.
They gonna say that anywhere that you go, oh, oh, oh. You're gonna make it, you're gonna make it. Oh la 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 la. You're gonna make it.
Jesse's song is one that could be described in a variety of ways. Some people might call it urban dance, others might call it Afro house or Afrobeats, and all of them are styles that we haven't quite seen at Eurovision. Considering that the country is best known for metal and crazy party, this would be an unexpected choice for most people, I imagine. And although the messaging of the song is about perseverance, which is something that we see often in Eurovision, we haven't seen it be done in this way, with this kind of flair to it. The likelihood of that happening is unfortunately very slim, and one of the reasons for that is because Jesse is so far the only artist who has said that if he wins, he will not go to Eurovision if Israel is still expected to participate. Now, I'm not going to say that's unfortunate, because it's not. He's making a decision that goes against furthering his career because of his principles, and that's something that I can only show respect for. It is a loss, though, because this is an opportunity to do something different, and although I definitely don't see this as like a winning song, it would still be something that could have equal jury and televote support if they go about this in the right way and make it an energetic performance that has an impact. And the problem with this scenario is that because he's made his views known, people are going to assume that that will be a factor in the votes, for the better or for the worse. My hope is that people vote for whatever reaches them the most and in the best interests of the artists participating, and even if he decides not to go to Eurovision, if he brings the best performance on the night, then it should be acknowledged. At the end of the day, there are things in this world more important than this song contest, and he's made it clear what he considers to be most important, and for that, I can only respect him.
Feel so beautiful tonight. Move your body. No rules. It's how I live, how I find the wind beneath my wings.
In nearly every UMK, there's at least one song that's a bit off the wall, and if people are hoping to follow up last year's song with the most crazy party entry, then this is the obvious choice. What we have here is a wacky Eurodance tribute that is nothing but mindless fun, and although it doesn't take itself too seriously, it's not completely devoid of meaning, and you don't have to dig that deep to find it. Now, I'm not always a fan of these attempts at humorous entries. With the ones that we've seen from Finland, there's been some that I could appreciate, but there were others that I just found to be pretty lame and not funny. One of the main things that I look for in Eurovision entries is, am I going to listen to this outside of the contest? And this is not one of those songs. But I can still at least appreciate that while it's pretty stupid, it's not off-puttingly stupid, and so I'm not going to be so cold as to dismiss it entirely. And if this is a way for Finns to break free of their cold shell like last year's song, then who am I to judge? This song also made it into the Finnish top 20, just barely, and so it's possible that people are going to be looking out for it on the night. Therefore, I think that this is definitely one to keep an eye on. I'm expecting a big televote push for it. Maybe it won't come first, but second or third seems pretty likely. Now, among the other 3 songs that are in the selection, I do consider them to all have their own strengths. The problem that I'm finding right now is that when going off of the studio versions, a lot of them have a hard time sticking, and I think that in order for them to be the best possible choice, they're going to need to stand out in some way with the staging. The song that I'm most interested in is Glow by Jesse Markin. It also happens to be the song that is least likely to be selected, but honestly, I could get behind any of these songs if they're done in the right way. I think there's a lot of potential here. Let me know in the comments who you are most excited to see, and if you like this video, I would love if you subscribe to the channel so that we can keep chatting about Eurovision as it approaches, as well as other national selections. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.